No one expected this, but you should have, because we're out of the Tom Thibodeau experience. We're in the Mike Brown era, which means we participate in load management. That's right, Knicks Nation. When our top players are tired and fatigued, they get the night off. PTO, PTO, PTO. And what better night to get off than the eve of Christmas Eve? And yeah, the Knicks lost to the Timberwolves last night, 115-104. They were without Jalen Brunson, no OG Anunoby, no Deuce McBride, no Landry Shamet, and they still put up a valiant effort. And I'm going to talk about key moments in this game where realistically, you as a fan can hold the Knicks to account and say, we should have made those plays and we should have won this game. So there's no excuses. I'm not an excuse maker. I am a podcast host, and I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Poppa Left. I am the host of Your Knicks. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel so we can get this content out to Knicks fans like you. The Knicks lost in Minnesota last night. And yes, were we robbed of a Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards showdown? Were we robbed of a contextual Cat versus Randall matchup with all the parts available? Dante DiVincenzo, Mitchell Robinson, who would be more valuable? Yeah, we were robbed of it. It is what it is. But the Knicks have the NBA Finals in mind. They don't have a regular season game in mind. And they were able to compartmentalize all of that and say, you know what? We're giving Brunson and OG the night off. That is the big picture story of the game. We have a game against Cleveland. That's a conference game. Tiebreakers are involved. We want to have a good Eastern Conference record. Should we have that tiebreaker come into play? We can take a night off against a Minnesota team on the road. Doesn't impact our home fans. It is what it is. Sucks to be a Minnesota fan. They got Karl Anthony Towns. It was probably good enough for them, and they got the win. With that said, the Knicks had multiple opportunities to win last night's game. I'm going to talk about those scenarios, but first, I want to talk about the starting lineup. Tyler Kolek, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, and Mitchell Robinson jumps into the starting lineup because the Minnesota Timberwolves employ a double big pretty much at all times with Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, and Naz Reid. So Mike Brown kind of had it tailor-made for him to adjust his rotation. And then off the bench, we had Jordan Clarkson, Ariel Hukporti, Mohamed Diawara, Kevin McCullough got in the game, and also Pacome Dadier actually played for a hot stretch in this game in the second and third quarters. So, look, the Knicks stuck with the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first quarter. I expected that because a lot of times when you're playing a team that's shorthanded, they throw something at you you haven't seen on film. And while most of these Knicks have played during the season, obviously Kolek has played, right? But they haven't had that unit on the floor together in the first quarter. So you can't really scheme up against them. It takes a little bit of an adjustment period. And the Knicks were able to stick around early in this game. Then Rudy Gobert was a monster on the glass. They went and ballooned the lead up to 46-30, and it was Bones Highland who had 3 threes. He got a little magnet ball going. And I thought, at 46-30, it would have been a good opportunity for these Knicks to say, you know what? Let's put out all these kids. Let's give guys, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, let's give them to the third quarter and give them the rest of the night off. And we'll see you guys on Christmas versus Cleveland at the Garden. And the Knicks didn't do that. The Knicks competed their tail off last night. And at 46-30, they hit a bunch of big shots. Karl Anthony Towns had a step-back jumper to make it 46-32. Josh Hart had an and one. Jordan Clarkson hit a bunch of threes. And then the Knicks cut the lead to 53-52. And I'm going to share with you a couple moments from that point on into the end of the third quarter that really decided this game. The Knicks lost last night by 11. I'm going to show you a potential 15 points that they left on the board and what I thought of these moments and why they were crucial to the outcome of the game. But please remember, the first magnet ball moment of this game, Bones Highland in the first half. That was something that Minnesota needed to beat us without Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Deuce, and Shamet. So I'm going to add this to the screen. I want to scale back. Okay. So right now we have the Knicks have just cut the lead of 53-52. And Mike Brown had an interesting adjustment in the second quarter. The Knicks were down by multiple possessions. They were down by 15 points. And what Brown did was, it was pretty smart. He went to the zone. He basically forced Minnesota to take long threes. Long threes equal long rebounds, which equal transition, which means you don't have to set up against a half-court defense, a half-court shell. Nobody's in the gaps, and you can just go one-on-one and attack and play free-flowing basketball. It was a risk. The Knicks took the reward, and they were able to cut the lead to literally 1 point. My issue was, when you have a strategy like this, you have to know when to pull the plug, and it has to be forward thinking. I did not like this defensive possession, and we're going to take a look at it. The Knicks are down by 1, and here they are in the zone, and you can see there's Hart, there's Clarkson, there's Bridges, there's Dottier, and there's Mitch. Okay, here is Dante on the opposite side of the ball. So they're going to get the ball into the middle third, into the foul line to Naz Reid. Naz Reid reverses the ball as Dottier tries to cover for Rudy Gobert. And then that leads to a wide open three by Dante DiVincenzo. So at that point, the Knicks are now down 56-52. Here's the following possession. Like I said, when you shoot a three and miss, it creates long rebounds and transition opportunities. And that's exactly what happened here as Dottier misses the three. The deflection goes out. Dante takes the rebound, goes down the court, blows the layup, but Rudy Gobert with the slam. So now it's 58-52. And I'm going to stop the share right now. And that was the end of the half. So what was 53-52 then became 58-52. So that's a 5-point swing in the game at the end of a quarter. The Knicks do rely on Jalen Brunson in those moments, and that is a spot where they were missing him. But then again, that is no excuse. You got to be able to close quarters in this league if you want to make your runs count. And I give the Knicks a lot of credit from 46-30 to get back in this game, because I didn't think that they had the firepower to get multiple scores and multiple stops in the second half with the time ticking down. They did a good job of at least getting it to 6, but as a greedy fan, as a greedy competitor, the Knicks really shot themselves in the foot at the end of the half there, and they went down 6. Then they were able to find the rhythm in the second half, in the third quarter, and Karl-Anthony Towns hit some big shots, Mikal Bridges hit some big shots, and then the Knicks were able to take the lead on an and one, and I'm going to share again. This is where I thought the Knicks could have had an opportunity to play with the lead. It's 69-67, just plenty of time left. But psychologically, playing with the lead on the road, the Minnesota Timberwolves have lost a few games at home. I wanted them to press the gas down and continue the effort that they had and play with the lead. Mikal misses the free throw, right? So that could have been an and one. Knicks could have been up 70-67 and then go set up their defense. Here's what happens. Instead, Anthony Edwards gets the ball. The Knicks are not back in position. Josh Hart, who had a really tough time guarding individually, he's looking at the screen by, I believe that's Naz Reid, and Edwards rejects it, goes baseline. Knicks don't have the proper help. Easy slam. Okay? So that's a 3-point swing right there. Here's a missed free throw by Karl-Anthony Towns. Could have went up a full bucket. Didn't do it. Here's another missed free throw by Jordan Clarkson. Now the Knicks are down 4. They get a rebound. Josh Hart is kind of dealing with the fact that he got fouled by Rudy Gobert. And I actually don't mind this. I think the Knicks could use a little bit of this chippiness that Josh Hart brought to the game. And I'm going to stop the share right there as well. Yeah. So like in the scheme of that game, bad play, right? Bad timing. I know people are like, you know, that does add to the idea that the Knicks left a bunch of points, but that I want to isolate real quick. I like that from Josh Hart. The trip, all right, it is what it is. He's emotional. I would have been mad at another team's player for doing it, but the fact that it's Hart and the Knicks are always getting the other end of this, like tomfoolery, like these Bush League moments. I like the fact that we were able to at least match intensity, physicality, and we weren't going to get punked on the floor. So Hart picks up the flagrant. Instead of us having the ball down 4, Rudy Gobert hits 2 free throws. It's 82-76. Then we're going to, let me share the screen back here. So Gobert goes on to make these 2 free throws. Again, the Knicks are down 2 possessions at the end of the quarter. So Diawara hits a 3, and the Knicks are down 3. They get another stop. And here's an interesting part of the game. You can see Kolek and Hart pointing to Clarkson in the corner. As a basketball purist, it's amazing to me that Clarkson is not cutting backdoor, but this is the NBA. Now, Diawara just hit a 3, so I don't really mind him shooting this shot, but it does look like his 2 teammates want him to give it to Clarkson. Jalen Clark jabs to help in the corner. Diawara takes a shot. He misses. The Knicks end up getting the rebound. And this possession right here, these 14 seconds, the Knicks are getting the ball in the 4th quarter. There's 7 seconds left on the clock. This shot by Tyler Kolek, unacceptable. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but Rudy Gobert is not the guy you throw up a weak layup on, and he gets blocked. And then on the other end, it's Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah for, I think that, yeah, it's Jalen Clark. 85-79. So that's 15 points right there, where the Knicks lost by 11, and that was it. In the 4th quarter, Julius Randle started to go off. He made some winning plays. I'm not going to lie, but I will put it in context. Karl-Anthony Towns had 4 fouls. The Knicks were already down in the game. Randle would never, in a real game, would never not have it going and then get it going in the 4th against our full unit. Again, the Knicks were not scoring. They were turning the ball over. The Knicks turned the ball over 19 times to 11 times by the Timberwolves. That's a result of not having a point guard for 48 minutes. The Knicks shot 33s to Minnesota's 46. So that's a result of not having Brunson and Anunoby. So that's where you can use the excuse. And also like this environment where Randle gets to go 3 for 10 for 3 quarters and then turns it up on a guy who's trying to preserve his availability in Karl-Anthony Towns for foul trouble. Phenomenal moves. He was in his zone. He was in his bag, but it was a little fake to me. I'm not going to lie. So the Knicks ended up losing this game 115-104. They fought to the very end. I thought it was a good effort. I think that the Knicks are going to have to regather their energy and be able to play a 12 noon game. It's not really a day off today because it's Christmas Eve. They just get in from a long night and a flight. I don't know what they're going to do today in terms of keeping their bodies fresh, in terms of the nutrition, in terms of the workout, in terms of the sleep schedule. It's going to be very interesting because they got to wake up tomorrow morning and pretty much get to the facility 3 hours before the game and go play a basketball game against Cleveland, who, yes, they're without Evan Mobley, but they found their offensive rhythm and they've won their last 2 games. So I don't want to take it lightly. The 2 things that I want to look at in this game specifically is the Dadier versus Diawara stints in this game. I thought, this is how I'm going to put it. Dadier's best performance barely beats out Diawara's worst. Diawara's motor is better. His body control is better. His defensive energy is better. His just overall impact on the game is better. And if the Knicks are going to mix and match their development, I think it's time to cut bait on Dadier. They're at the same age, at the same contractual kind of like length of how you can keep them on the books. I think that the Knicks should really look at giving Dadier an opportunity with another franchise, maybe attach him to Yabusele instead of attaching picks, and see if you can get some type of rotational piece in here, something marginal, nothing big. But if the Knicks want to go all in and put a bunch of assets with Yabusele, Dadier, and maybe the Wizards pick, they could probably get a player head and shoulders above Clarkson and Shamet. I don't know if they should do that. I said yesterday on Space, be patient, wait for your ops to push their chips in the table, like a Detroit. Wait for them to see what they do. You know, I thought Kolek played a solid game per 36. You saw the warts with it. He's got a couple of things he has to figure out in terms of shot selection and when and where to be aggressive and when and where to dribble out. And Karl-Anthony Towns, I need to see more of that, not just because you're playing in front of your girlfriend. You know what I mean? The proverbial girlfriend in Minnesota. You got this extra boost of energy. You want to showcase who you really are. But all in all, valiant effort. Good sign that the Knicks are doing load management and their eyes are on the big picture. Make sure you tune into the rest of my videos. This is your Knicks.